recording.
Action!
The story of Harry Lightcap, as I remember it.
Okay.
He came over and landed in Galveston, Texas. I have no idea what year it was or anything, but he came over with two friends from Spain. His mother had died and he was not welcome, and his grandparents or his aunts and uncles or anything.
How old was he?
I don't know.
A guess.
I guess he was probably about 16.
He couldn't have been that old because when he came over, he wanted to enlist in World
And that's
War I.
right. He wanted to
And
enlist.
he was too young.
He was too young to enlist.
So he might have been more like 14.
May have been even 12 is what I think.
Okay. So we have some differing opinions. It may have been somewhere between 12 and 14.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sometime.
Go ahead.
And he came over with this couple, and they landed in Galveston, Texas. How long they were there, I have no idea until that first hurricane came and wiped everything out. And he got separated from his friends.
So this would have been 1917 or 18.
Yeah.
Okay.
He got separated from his friends and was, what do they do? No, they don't enlist him, but
He was conscripted.
conscripted into a cleanup crew. And he was cleaning up after all the debris and everything like that. And when he came upon a woman who was impaled on a
Post.
post or a piece of wood or something like that, and he had to take her off, he ran away.
Okay.
And he left everything, I mean, he lost everything in that hurricane. His birth certificate, any pictures that he'd taken with him, clothing, except what he had on his back. And he went, as he said, he went on the bum. And he bummed around in the Southwest and the South for several years. And he wound up in St. Louis, Missouri, working at Melsheimer's as a busboy. And he met Bertha Shipley. What was her name? Franklin. Bertha Shipley Franklin. She was a waitress. And they married, and she became Bertha Shipley Franklin Lightcap.
And she was quite a bit older than Grandpapa, is that right?
Yeah, she was about, I think, 15 years or more older.
I looked up the 1930 U.S. Census
Mm-hmm.
to see if I could find Grandpapa, and I did. And according to the census in 1930, Grandpapa was 23 years old, and Bertha was 44.
Wow. Okay.
Wow.
So there was, according to the census, a 21-year difference.
Yeah. Well, anyway, in someplace in between there, Millicent Lightcap was born,
And who's that?
and that's me.
Is that you?
That's me.
What?
And when I was supposed to be named at in the hospital, my dad wanted to name me Bertha, and Bertha Susanna, which was my mother's name, and my mother said, absolutely not. You'll have to pick something else. And there was a playgirl or heiress or something like that, whose name was on the front page of the newspaper that was laying there. Her name was Millicent, and so they named me Millicent.
Huh.
And then we lived in St. Louis, and when I was about 3 or 4 months old, we moved to Chicago and lived on the south side. And I used to know the street address, but I've forgotten it. And then they, what do they call it?
The Depression.
The Depression came, and Grandpapa would walk the streets with his automobile tool thing,
Mhm.
looking for work.
What had he been trained for in St. Louis? What had he taken his
Oh.
apprenticeship in?
Automobile mechanics. And he walked the streets in Chicago looking for work. And he would, any garage that he passed or anybody that had a car, he would ask them if they needed any help with their vehicles. And that's the way he met Mr. and Mrs. Gillette. Mr. Gillette had a big touring car, which was Harry's idea of a wonderful way, and Mr. Gillette needed work done on it, and that's the way they met and became forever friends.
BFF.
Yeah.
Best
yeah.
friends forever.
Best friends forever. And we moved around in Chicago from, I can't remember the name of the street that we lived on the south side, but then we moved to Newport Avenue. And from Newport, I went through most of my grade school there, and that was kind of a traumatic experience. And then we moved to Sunnyside Avenue, and my mother had a job there as a housekeeper, and that was during the World's Fair, 1930s World's Fair, and she cleaned it. They rented out apartments and for people who were coming to the World's Fair and staying for a month or 2 months or whatever, and she cleaned the apartments and was a housekeeper, I guess, and we lived in what they called English basement, which means that our windows were on the ground, right on the ground floor.
I think they call it a garden apartment now,
Well,
but yes. Go ahead, sorry.
and I slept on a couch. I graduated from sleeping on 2 chairs pushed together. I guess I got too big and graduated to a couch. And my dad liked to have company, so when he'd have company, it was my bedtime. I'd scooch down in behind people, and they'd be sitting on the edge of the couch, and I'd be sleeping on the inside. Which suited me just fine. It was nice and warm, and I could listen in on conversations. So then we moved from there to Newport Avenue. And I know my mother had a job, but I couldn't tell you who it was at that time. And Grandpapa went to work for the McCormick Estates downtown as a, well, somebody said, your dad is just a janitor.
Whoops, wait a minute, it froze. Okay, go ahead.
Somebody told me that my dad was just a janitor. And I remember hitting him with something, but I can't remember what it was. Because he had 2 buildings that he had to manage, keep clean, make sure that everything was taken care of.
So he's like a building superintendent.
Yeah.
Sounds much better than a
Building
janitor.
Yeah, building superintendent. And we lived there on Newport Avenue for a long time, and then moved to Jackson Boulevard. And then I was in 7th and 8th grade, and then I moved to high school. And I wanted to go to high school. It was just a couple blocks away. And some nice lady told Grandpapa about school for young ladies that would just put the polish on me forever. I mean, just make me wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
And so my dad sent me to reform school.
Ah,
And
Why do you call it reform school?
because we had arithmetic, English, geography, and I can't think of, but the rest of it was cooking, sewing, making hats, doing all of those things that I already knew how to do. I mean, I sewed with my mother and cut out patterns because she made dance costumes. And so I did that. And I know Grandpapa had his job with the McCormick Estates, and that was the way the rest of it goes. What else do you want me to tell you?
I lived happily ever after.
Yeah, I lived happily ever after.
Yes, but your mother, Grandpapa's first wife died,
Yeah.
and
My mother
he
died.
met,
And he met Evelyn Winder.
mhm,
And he come home and he asked me, what kind of a last name is Winder? And I said, well, it sounds German or English or something like that. Okay. He'd accept German or English.
It wouldn't have been right if it had been a Greek name,
No.
would it have?
Oh, no.
yeah, he had something about Greeks, didn't he? Didn't,
Yeah.
yeah,
He hated him.
Ah,
Greeks.
okay,
But, so he and Evelyn got married, and I had a very wonderful stepmother.
okay. So you liked Evelyn.
Oh, yeah, I
Yeah.
did. I liked Evelyn.
Well, we like
I had a lot
grandmother
of
too.
That's our grandmother.
Yes, that's our
I had a lot of
grandmother that we all
respect for
knew.
Evelyn.
Right.
And she loved us. I mean,
Yes, she did.
just loved all of us.
She did love us, yeah. Okay,
Even though Roberta did make an ass out of herself.
I'm sure
At Marshall Field.
I'm sure that's not true.
No, it is true. I remember it specifically.
What did you do? Well, we've
Well,
got
we're
the
not,
tape
this
running.
isn't my story.
Oh, okay, all right, all right. Well, thank you, Mom. I appreciate you
Okay.
sharing that with us. Do you have anything else you think would be good to record for posterity here?
No, I can't think of anything for posterity.
Okay. Okay, that's it, and I'm stopping the tape now.